Okay, so this one is I'm going to try and keep this one a little bit short. Now, I'm going to give you a tiny example, okay? Let's say you buy a house, right? And the house has land associated with it. And when you go to buy that house, on the estate agent's board, it says that the land is available with the house and planning permission has been granted to maybe do an extension or something like that. So if you pay the money to acquire that, when you put forward the plan of what you want to do with it, the likelihood is, because it's already been given, that you can do extra work, that when you put your application in, whatever the application is, that those councillors and those officials are going to turn around and say, rubber stamped. Now, as I say, with a lot of land for these projects, it's really quite simple. That when you go and speak to whoever is selling through a broker, you put on there that your wish is for them to find you somewhere where building something is granted. It will take time. Everything takes time. You can't just buy, say that farmer's field over there. You can't build that and then turn around and say, right, by Christmas I want a big shopping centre to serve the community. You can't do that. So, like I say, the people I'm going to be speaking to, the people who I've messaged down in London, hopefully they will come up, meet me, speak to me and listen to the plans. If they do that, like I say, the first one, that is hard. It's not impossible, but it is hard. The second one, which is Dual Energy Inc., that is to get permission to put in a combined energy farm. That's solar panels and that's vertical wind turbines. Now, because the vertical wind turbines are not gigantic, they're not like 150 foot tall, they're not an ISO, and they're silent, the likelihood is that in the locations in and around Newcastle upon Tyne and where I am at the moment down here, the local council is going to turn around and say, well, we're not quite pleased with this and with that, and then you have another meeting and you explain to them the fact that you're creating jobs, you're creating work for people, local people, and the likelihood is they may change their minds, and if they don't change their minds, then you turn around and you say to them, well, if you're not going to, I'll choose another area and I'll invest there. See, Newcastle has lots of places which I spotted when I was up in Newcastle. Down here, there are lots of places, and like I say, if they're not going to give you in one place, you just move to another. And you know, people turn around and saying about feasibility studies. That's what these experts are for. To speak to people, to turn around and say, this is the plans, and this is where the funding's coming from. And the funding is the ICO in both these different projects. And those projects are split in 2 different locations. So in total, you've got 4. And when you're looking at 4 locations, then the likelihood is they're going to accept. So they could turn around and say no, but like I say, if they turn around and say no, then the person who actually owns the land, well, they're going to be a bit miffed, aren't they? If they're looking at like cashing out on what they've got, and then they find out that you look at councillors, etc., your planners, and you know, all these other people say no, because you're going to move elsewhere, and somebody else is going to get that money, which could be, you know, in your bank. And it may take building the units, that may take what, maybe a year. But in that year, the likes of the Jobcentre, they are preparing the groundwork for interviews, etc. And if the Jobcentre like says this is quite a good number of people who are going to be working, then like I say, other agencies will be called in to ease the burden. But it doesn't stop, because at the end of the day, the people who are taking the coins, well, if you invest, you do want some kind of return, and that's the point. See, putting something from 2023 up to 2050, well, in anybody's book, that's a long-term investment. And because it's long-term, you're more likely to get a green light than if you turn around and says, oh, I'm gonna build this, and then after 5-10 years I'm moving, I'm gonna like sell it on to somebody else who may turn around and run it for a little while and then cuts. With this 2 projects, there are no cuts, there is expansion, and that's the whole point of it. Because you start in 2 locations and then you branch out to other locations, and at the end of the day, it means the taxman gets his pound of flesh. And as I say, there's not just the taxman, you have medical, and there's other costs. There's a whole load of costs. But as I say, the ICO has that in the instructions. Because like I said at the very beginning when I was talking about this, what you can't do is, like, you know, these daft meme coins, was it SHIB and Dodge, or I think that's what they call it. And others where it's like everybody rushes towards it, buys it, price goes up, and then all of a sudden the price just boom, it crashes. This isn't like that. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have like land, buildings, cars, equipment, they all cost money. And that's what this covers. And when people speak about funding, there are whispers of funding from an absolute giant. Don't really want to use the giant, but as I say, depends who comes knocking when the launch happens. And hopefully that launch is this month, and then if you're on the exchange, you'll see it. And you have the choice. It's not like I'm forcing anybody. It's your choice. You know, there is each ICO is reissuable, and I made it that way because from 2023 up to 2050, that is a very, very long time. So there you go, short video.